everyone, Sabrina here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm doing catch-ups because I've been on holiday the last few weeks. So this video is what I've managed to read on holiday. So these are my reads for the last 3 weeks because technically I did break up the week before I actually went on holiday. So first up, I had to finish A Radical Act of Free Magic by H.G. Parry. This is book 2 in the Shadows history, duology, which basically looks at the 1700s political situation, but if there was magic involved in this world. So we meet characters like William Wilberforce, Robespierre, Napoleon Bonaparte, William Pitt, you know, lots of historical names that I kind of knew very little about. And actually this has made me interested in particularly British history and what was going on at that time period. The fact that we got William Wilberforce trying to get slavery abolished across the British Empire and the colonies, and then you got William Pitt, who's like the youngest prime minister ever to come in power, and sort of doing this balancing act between both sides and trying to appease the country, appease the king. And then also the French Revolution and all the upheaval and the social upheaval from that and the fallout from those results. But this is all woven together with this element that everybody has magic and how that would affect things, how it would change things, how some things wouldn't have changed because of magic. So I've really enjoyed this. These are not light books to read. I mean, they're tomes. His first one, Declaration on the Rights of Magicians. They are tomes, but I found these quite heavy going because there's a lot of stuff going on in here. There's a lot of time jumps because we're going through quite a big period of history. So it's not like a continuous narrative. There are like, well, we're now going to focus on this bit and we're going to focus on this bit, but we stay with the same characters that we know and love. We see the story told from many different viewpoints. It's not just all the guys in power. We do follow a young slave and her struggle for freedom and survival and her own sort of sense of belonging as well. I really loved her, Finna. But we also follow it from the French point of view. We get a whole part of the politics, and it's really sort of balanced. You know, no one's really right or wrong, apart from obviously the slavers are so 100% wrong. It's not, oh, the English were right or the French were right. It was more of a case of there's more going on, and history is a lot more rounded than any of the schools have ever given us an opportunity to learn about. But I really just loved the way that magic's woven into this history. And you could believe it. It could be a thing. So that was the first book I finished. I would say if you haven't read anything by H.G. Parry yet, please go and pick up one of their books. That's the third one of theirs I've read. The Unlikely Escape of Uriah Heep, I really enjoyed, is what made me go and pick up more of their work. So highly recommend. Next up, I read book 2 in the Great Library series. This is Paper on Fire by Rachel Caine. There are 5 books in this series, and it basically follows a what if the Great Library of Alexandria was never destroyed and burnt to the ground. And it's very much about how power and knowledge can be easily hoarded and corrupted, and what is presented as kind of like utopian order is not at all. And there's a lot going on in this book. There's a budding romance, there's the military side of it, there's a political side to it, there's the whole, what are they doing, is this right, is this wrong? Well, technically what it is this right, but the means they're going about it is wrong. And we follow a young group of people who are trying to bring down the corruption within the Great Library without losing what the Great Library actually stands for as well. I really enjoyed this. It took me a day to read. Yeah, I read like that on the beach. I do have the next 2 books in the series. I think I've got to go and buy one more, book 5, and I'm really hoping that this series was finished before Rachel unfortunately passed away. But I love this. I love the characters in here. It's really dark and bleak in places, and it really just sort of, it made me question, actually, is the Great Library a good thing or not? Are they doing the right thing? I really found myself flitting between both sides. Next up, I read a book that my parents got me for my birthday. This is the Complete Sookie Stackhouse short stories by Charlene Harris. This is probably better known as the True Blood series for people of my age now. I vaguely remember watching a couple of episodes of it about 15 years ago now. It's some time, isn't it? And I have to admit, I wasn't really into it. It was on late and I probably wasn't in the right frame of mind, but it really wasn't kind of doing it for me. But I read these short stories, bearing in mind I've read nothing else by Charlene Harris at all. I really liked it. I found Sookie was quite this amenable, likeable character. I liked the world that we were in, the fact that vampires are now out there, as it were. Yeah, I liked it enough that I wanted to read the rest of the series, which is another video coming. But I really like this, so thanks, Dad. I read We Free the Stars by Hafsa Fazil. This is the sequel to... Can't blooming find it. Where's that gone? Oh, there it is. The sequel to We Hunt the Flame. Look at this gorgeous cover. I wish I'd sort of ordered the hardback to match this one. I've got the UK paperback edition, which, yeah, they've got the same colouring, but they really don't match, which is a shame. Anyway, it's the closing part of the duology. This is a duology. This is another tome. I love this series so much. It is a gorgeous fantasy series with politics and romance and magic and flawed characters and questionable morals. I loved it. It is beautifully written. If you want something that's very similarly written to Lord of the Rings, that poetical, lyrical type of writing that just flows along, I really recommend you reading these books, because it's like reading poetry. It is gorgeously written. The language used is just perfect for every moment, every description. And I have to say, the romantic leads in these books, oh yeah, for all the wrong reasons. But yeah, wow, they are nice lads, I have to say. I love this series. It doesn't get enough love. Too many people slag it off as a Throne of Glass copycat. It is not. Not in any way, shape or form, other than that both books are fantasy based with female leads. Seriously, stop the Sarah J Maas comparisons. This is gorgeous. This needs to be read more, and I can't wait for Hafsa's next book coming out. I'm so excited. I do have a major problem that I'm not going to be able to fit all my books back on the shelves. I finally got round to reading Descendant of the Crane by Joan He. I picked this up 3 years ago. Oh my god, yeah. At Yalk, mine came with these sprayed edges. This is fantastic. I'm wondering if there's going to be a sequel, because the way it's finished off, I kind of hope there's a sequel. But I really enjoyed this. I loved the main characters. I thought the magic within it is really subtle. It's just like underneath there, but it's part of this world. But because it's been outlawed and looked down upon, it's really sort of right under the main layers going on. I loved this book so much. It took twists and turns that I wasn't expecting, so I'm really pleased about that. And I loved it. This again was like a read in a day. It barely took me any time at all, but like I said, I was reading for like 4 hours at a time on the beach, so, and I'm a quick reader. But it was so easy to read. It was beautifully written. Lead characters that I loved. Beautiful fantasy story that really towards the end just went boom, and I was like, oh, and so many things just dropped straight into place, and like, oh yeah, that meant that and that meant that, and it was all foreshadowed. And you know, it wasn't one of those endings where the author suddenly came up with all these answers. They were all signposted all the way through, and it just all came together at the end. Really enjoyed this. Apparently Joan He had some issues getting paid for this, which is disgraceful, though I'm really hoping that's all been resolved and she's got the money and the recognition now she deserves. Her new book out looks lovely, and I'm really tempted to read it, even though it's kind of like not what I would normally read, but I loved her writing, so I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and go, yeah, I'm reading this book. Highly recommend. Vicious Spirits by Kat Cho. This is like a companion / sequel to Wicked Fox. Sprayed edges, very limited edition. I loved Wicked Fox. This is an urban fantasy, Korean mythology, beautiful tale. And this continues on. I love these books. I mean, one, they are gorgeous to look at. They are so much fun and dark but hopeful and inspiring and full of mythology. I mean, I don't know much Korean mythology, and I just seem to be reading lots of it lately, which is really cool. And it's so refreshing to read something I know nothing about, and I loved it. I really loved it. So yeah, I highly recommend these books. Really good fun. For those of you that have seen my Fairy Loot unboxing video, I also managed to read Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim. This is the sequel to Spin the Dawn. Yes, I've got beautiful covers that go together, but have you seen the UK publications of these in paperback? I'm so gonna have to buy them. They are gorgeous. Yeah, okay, I'm a sucker for a pretty book. Anyway, this is billed as a Mulan meets Runway project, which, considering I've never seen that, I'm going to go with Great British Sewing Bee. So, retelling. So, Mulan impersonating her brother as a tailor, because women aren't allowed to be tailors. Because, yeah, totally, we can't sew. Thank you very much. Anyway, so she impersonates her brother, pretending to be a boy, to win the competition, so her father's life will become a lot better after a hideous war that has taken away both her brothers. But there's a lot more to that. There is romance, there is dark magic in here, there is politics, there is grief and loss. And oh, I just love these books so much. And I've had this one on my shelf for a couple of years. I'm really apologetic that I haven't read it sooner, but I loved it. Okay, I am now seriously running out of bookcase shelf. I also read These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1926 Shanghai. So expect huge politics and, yeah, social upheaval. I was amazed actually how little history I know reading this book, because I knew nothing about Shanghai in this time period whatsoever. So I've been educated. Thank you, Chloe. Brilliant. And Romeo and Juliet is not my favourite Shakespeare play, which this author's probably going to hate me for saying that, because it is like her favourite. But the way that it's told in here, I can see all the parallels with the original play, but I like it better in here than Shakespeare's. So well done. You've made someone love Romeo and Juliet by the way you've told your story. But yeah, there is a old romance in here that's kind of angsty and rekindled, but it's really like, because obviously if you know the story of Romeo and Juliet, and if you don't, you didn't do your GCSEs. We have two sides, two gangs. There's always gangs in this, and our lovers are on the two different sides of the gang war. It's set in Shanghai with all the political upheaval and this fight for survival and identity amongst all the French and the British and the Americans coming in and trying to take over. Oh my god, I love this book so much. And there's also, on top of all that, some like major nasty stuff going on, like ew, and there's some seriously gross descriptions in here. Yeah, I had to put the book down a couple of times because it was like, yikes, that was yuck. But I love this book so much. Also, gorgeous edition. This is, of course, my Fairy Loot edition, which is really nice. I do actually quite like the mainstream publication because they've got the red roses. So it is one of those books where I think, oh yeah, I'd been happy with an ordinary paperback. But yeah, and I have ordered the sequel, which I can't remember what it's called at the moment. So I'm really interested to see how it's going to follow up, because this was good. And finally, I read The Dragon of Jin-Sayeng. I think that's right. This is by K.S. Villoso, the third book in the Chronicles of the Bitch Queen series. Oh god, I love this book so much. But I love this series hugely. These are not thin books. There's the trilogy. Okay, The Wolf of Orinyaro is actually quite thin, but it's still time. But these just get bigger. And I love this series so much. Look, them in the wrong order. That's the better order, isn't it? So Dragon of Jin-Sayeng. This series is a 100% focus on Talia and her conflict as a queen, a reluctant leader almost, the shadow of her father over her entire life and every choice that she makes, her love for her son, her willingness to do the right thing even though it goes against everything she wants. She is an amazing lead character, and this is told 100% from her point of view. But she's flawed, she's not perfect, and she admits that, and she is not afraid to show all those flaws. I was blown away by how much I cared for her, and I wanted things to work out right. And when there was pain on the page, oh my god, there is pain on the page, I felt it. I really felt it. Words are failing me, as you can tell. I really love the series, and the final book, reading that on the beach, yes, I was swept up. I was living it. I really was. I want more from this author. I want more. Apparently she's written more in this world, self-published, so I'm probably gonna have to go and dig them out. Highly recommend it. Really, really recommend this book series. Please go and pick it up. God knows where it's going to go on my bookcase though. So there we go. That's what I've read over my holidays. Like I say, I was reading for about 4 solid hours on the beach, uninterrupted. Only way to do a holiday, I tell you. I've read quite well. In total, I read 4,000 pages, so I'm really pleased with that, because in fact, all of these books I've been meaning to read for some time, some less than others. I mean, Dragon of Jin-Sayeng has only just really come out for me, and I've only just really got my hands on it. Same with Weave with the Stars, I've only just really brought that. But so many of the other books I needed to read because they've just been sat on my shelf for too long. So I wanted to finish series. I wanted to actually make a concerted effort to dent my TBR pile a little bit. The fact that I went and brought a whole pile of books is neither here nor there. Anyway, so what have you managed to read on your holidays? Do you have a set reading list? Do you just go with the flow? Are you breaking through your TBRs? Or are you just like, I'm on holiday, I'm not doing it? Please let me know down below. I highly recommend all the books that I have shown you. You know me, I've got really picky now. I am only reading books that I know I'm going to kind of enjoy. Not one book there failed me in any way, shape or form. The Sookie Stackhouse was completely new to me, and I was so pleasantly surprised by it. Yes, I really enjoyed them. You're now going to have to wait for me to organise my bookcases again to get all these books back on the shelves, because seriously, anyone figure out how to make a bookcase bigger on the inside? Because I really need to know the secret. That would be lovely. Let me know what you're currently reading down below. You can subscribe if you want. All new subscribers, thank you very much. You're very much appreciated. You can click the like button, because apparently that does stuff, and the notification bell if you want to know when I post, because I'm not a regular poster. I don't have a schedule. I just post when I feel like it. Yeah, rebel me. Down low in the description box, you will find my social media, link to my book blog, which is probably as neglected as this channel is, and links to other booktubers who are far more professional about this than I am. So please go and check them out as well. As always, thank you very much for watching. Happy reading and be well.